Most people fear being alone more than being weak. They fill silence with noise, schedules with obligation, and solitude with distraction. Miyamoto Musashi chose the opposite. He walked away from comfort, approval, and belonging, not because he was rejected, but because he understood something most never do. Loneliness, when embraced deliberately, becomes a weapon. This is the quiet truth behind Musashi's unmatched clarity and strength. Chapter 1. The Man Who Walked Away. Miyamoto Musashi lived during an age of war, yet he refused allegiance to any lord or clan. While others sought protection through hierarchy and belonging, Musashi chose independence. This was not arrogance, but strategy. He believed reliance weakens perception and attachment clouds judgment. By walking alone, he removed external influence from his mind. What remained was clarity, sharpened by silence. Chapter 2. Loneliness as discipline. In Japanese philosophy, solitude is not abandonment, but refinement. Zen monks withdrew from society to strip away distraction and ego. Musashi adopted a similar path, living sparsely, traveling alone, and speaking little. Loneliness forced confrontation with the self. There was no audience to impress, no reassurance to lean on. Each day became an exercise in internal authority. Chapter 3. A modern life surrounded by noise. Daiichi lives surrounded by people, messages, and constant stimulation. Yet despite never being alone, he feels unsettled. His thoughts depend on reaction, approval, and constant comparison. Silence makes him uncomfortable. Like many, he confuses connection with strength. He does not realize that his dependence on noise has weakened his ability to think clearly. Chapter 4. The Fear of Solitude. Musashi understood that fear of being alone is fear of facing the unfiltered mind. Daiichi begins to notice this in himself. When external input fades, restlessness rises. Unresolved doubts and insecurities surface. The instinct is to escape, to reconnect, to distract. Musashi taught that this discomfort is not danger, but training. Chapter 5. Walking alone without isolation. Loneliness, as Musashi practiced it, was not isolation from the world, but independence within it. Daiichi experiments with intentional solitude. He removes unnecessary conversation, limits exposure, and spends time without stimulation. At first, it feels heavy. Gradually, he begins to hear his own thoughts clearly. Decisions become simpler. His inner voice grows steadier. Chapter 6. Strength without witness. Musashi trained without validation. No applause shaped his discipline. This forged action without performance. Daiichi notices how much of his behavior was designed to be seen. In solitude, those impulses fade. He begins acting based on principle rather than reaction. Strength develops quietly, unnoticed, but solid. Chapter 7. The Elimination of Dependence. One of Musashi's greatest advantages was emotional independence. Without reliance on praise or comfort, fear lost leverage. Daiichi practices not sharing every struggle, not seeking reassurance for every doubt. This restraint feels unnatural at first. Over time, it creates resilience. Problems are met internally before being exposed externally. Chapter 8. Clarity through silence. Silence sharpens perception. Musashi wrote that observation reveals truth when the mind is undisturbed. Daiichi notices that silence reveals patterns he once missed. He listens more carefully. He reacts less. His presence gains weight. Loneliness, once feared, becomes a source of stability. Chapter 9. Identity forged alone. Eventually, Daiichi no longer sees solitude as absence. It becomes a place of alignment. He carries it with him even among others. Musashi did not retreat from the world forever. He returned without dependence on it. This is the difference between loneliness as weakness and loneliness as strength. Conclusion. Miyamoto Musashi's loneliness was not accidental. It was deliberate, disciplined, and strategic. By removing dependence, he removed fear. By walking alone, he stood firmly. In a world that avoids silence and fears solitude, his path remains difficult and rare. Yet for those willing to endure it, loneliness becomes not a burden, but the sharpest weapon of all.